Frank Ford, the editor, Leon Wieseltier, longtime literary editor, and one-man institution, resigned. It was later reported that Frank had earlier learned that his replacement had already been hired, and that led to the resignation, whatever. Certainly there were forebodings at the 100th birthday party, right? Everyone was saying, there was a sense that something was afoot because Chris Hughes, who had bought the magazine 2 years ago, had hired this new guy from Yahoo, Guy Vidra, and the sense was, hey, the status quo is not going to remain for long.
Ever since we got a memo from Chris Hughes, maybe a few months ago, saying that this guy had not only been hired, but was going to be the CEO and would have responsibility for commercial, financial, and editorial practices of the magazine. That was the red flag.
So he wasn't just a publisher.
Yes, that's right. That's exactly. So at that point, it was pretty clear that something was afoot.
Mm-hmm. What is your status, first of all? You're leaving, I gather.
Yes, I'm leaving. I'm no longer a senior editor, as far as I know.
And this is voluntary.
Yes.
And do you want to elaborate on the reasons?
No, I mean it's obvious. It's in solidarity with my colleagues, and it's a protest against Frank and Leon. Leon really was going to be out the door anyway. I think with Frank, I think that was pretty clear. And
you mean Leon? If Frank went, Leon was going to go, or Leon was doomed to begin with, or what?
Well, again, I told you this, that I work at home, so I don't know all the inside story. But yeah. I'll just say that at the very first lunch, a meeting I had with Chris Hughes about 2 months or a month after he bought the thing, I found myself defending Leon and his section. So I would say that it's that's
hard work, man. No, I'm kidding. We love Leon. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm saying that from that. I believe he was doomed. Whether he really was or not, I'll have to leave to people who know better what was inside Chris Hughes' head.
Yeah, but that was 2 years ago, so he hung on a while for sure, and he put out a lot of the kinds of reviews I think he would have wanted to put out in the meanwhile.
10 issues a year doesn't leave much for a review section, so that's
which is the other news. They're moving. They had already gone from weekly, which it was when you and I met, to 20 issues a week, and now they're going to 10 is the other big news. So it's clearly it's increasingly a web operation. I don't think you can really blame them in a certain sense for making it predominantly a web operation. I mean, you may have noticed there's this thing called the internet, and it's you cannot have influence. If you want to have influence, you really have to have a pretty energetic web operation. So that part alone.
Yes, I don't think that the going from print to web is the key issue. I think that was going to happen inevitably, and that most people on the magazine recognize that. It might not happen next year, it might happen in a few years, but I think that's going to be true for all publications. A few exceptions, but yes, that was definitely the fate. That's not for me. That's not the central consideration.
Yeah, and so what is this central consideration?
Well, the New Republic is one of these small political magazines. It's 100 years old. The Nation is older. National Review, whose purpose is to change America and change history, and not simply to publish whatever comes in or whatever attracts the most attention, but through discussion of the editors and through the writing and reporting to change America in certain ways. It was a political magazine. The people who owned the magazine, beginning with Willard Straight and his wife Dorothy Straight, 1914, were all committed to this idea. So they were willing to put up with deficits. They never saw it as a profit-making enterprise. Mm-hmm. Once you abandon that, once you start thinking of the New Republic as a web center or a media center, or even as a general interest magazine with no particular political presentation, and once you start thinking of it as something that's going to make a profit, then really that core purpose of the magazine is out the window. I myself think that it's very important to have magazines, publications, whether they're print or web, that have that kind of singular purpose. It doesn't mean that everything says the same. You know, one of the key things that happened when Chris Hughes came on was we stopped having editorials.
Right.
When you have editorials, one of the virtues of that is it forces the editors, of course, to argue about what they think, but it also allows you to present other ideas in the magazine that are completely at odds with the editorial. So it's a very important part of a political magazine. Once that was dropped, I saw that, you know, as the path to really changing the whole nature of the enterprise.
Yeah, and early on,